we were huge there. It was a success. Virginia, you go down to that. Okay. That one, I'm going to spin it to a very positive. I don't know if it's a spin. If you look at it, we actually gained points where Biden took these certain counties and districts. So no, we did lose the legislature. We did lose the Senate. We RNC went to them, and I'm not sure who it was. I'm not going to say the name, but said, hey, can we help you back in the summer? They said, no, we've got it. Don't worry, we're good. A week out, they came back and they said, could you give us $1 million? Well, we had already allocated all the money out, and so that we got staff over there to help, but it was a little bit too late. As you see, Mississippi, we really knocked it out of the park there. Now let's look at a couple of these other ones in Massachusetts. You never hear us winning anything. We took a state Senate race there, is what we did. So that was huge. Those were big markers to show things are changing, that we can make a difference when it comes to these races. And then look in Louisiana, we did really well. 50%, they have that jungle election there, which is just crazy. Very rarely do you get someone to take 50+% and be the elected, the nominee. We did that in Louisiana. They are strong Republicans there, but even the independents with us. And then if you look at New Hampshire, don't forget about New York. Oh my gosh. I mean, those are big wins in New York. People, we hadn't made those strides in years. We went in and helped in those states, in those areas, and we were successful. People are seeing what is happening to our country, and we are involved, the RNC. As you can see down at the very bottom, can you see that? Well, you can't really see that, but it's down there. Anyway, I mean, we in New Hampshire, we flipped mayor races across the state. We did some really significant wins there. So I'm sorry that you can't really see at the bottom, but that's, just trust me on that one. So if you could go to the next slide, please. Here are some of the results that I want our takeaways. Okay, what is the biggest thing? What killed us in Virginia and Ohio was the abortion issue. We are losing on the abortion issue, are we not? We have to own what we believe in. I'm not saying, nobody is saying change your point of view. You believe in what you stand for. You communicate that out. But we have to have a message that communicates to people that we are compassionate. This is kind of like a Nikki Haley type of stance, but even that's kind of like in the middle of the road. There's still both sides. You have to decide. Chairman McDaniel and to the chief of staff and said, listen, as a grassroots chairman, I want us to have a workshop on messaging about abortion. And how do we message this? They said, fine. So at the winter meeting, which is coming up at the end of January, we are going to have a workshop that is dedicated just to messaging and getting our points across, so that we are comfortable in what we believe and how we can communicate that with people, because that's important. The election integrity, as you can see here, I brought 2 sets of glasses because I wasn't sure which ones I would need. I added to the one here on election integrity because it's different than the one I have in front of me. You can see a number of the states that we are engaged in. We are already, the RNC is already out there, and they are having voter contact, voter registration. We have staff in all of those states. Now we have one here. We don't have what we normally do, but we do have a community center down south, and we have staff there that are reaching out to the community. But we are working in these areas and spending money, our resources, limited this year as in the past, but we are utilizing them to get the vote out is what we're doing. And then, as you can see, we're also going big on Bank Your Vote. If you were here yesterday, Matt, our RPD, had spoken to us about that. But we're used to doing the early voting, the vote by mail. We get that, but there are many states that do not, that they still have it on election day. And we have got to get people aware of what they can do and whether or not we can end up changing the law. Don't turn it yet. Changing the law is what we're doing. So it is important that we engage in Bank Your Vote. Still important for us to be aware, because there are many people coming into Texas need to know that they can vote early or they can vote by mail, but they need to know what the guidelines are. Those are our responsibilities to do that. One last thing before I go into the next slide is that I wanted you to know is that we are in 20 states at the present time with 73 lawsuits working on election integrity, working with the state parties, working with the people that are trying to get to secure our ballots. And that is also, 30 of those cases are on voter ID. New Hampshire just ended up winning the case, and now they have to have an ID to be able to vote. That's huge. We already have that, but we are continuing to work on that in all the other states. So anyway, now you can change. Now I wanted to quickly go into the delegation, our national convention, and how the delegation is going to work. If you see here, well, I lost one of my pages. Oh, there it is. Okay, so total delegates to the national convention, as you can see, are 2429. And then, but to secure the vote, which is 1215. Right now, it pretty much looks like we would possibly get past March 15th and know who our candidate is. It's possible, not a guarantee, but as polls are looking right now, but we'd have to go to that point, because pretty much from up to March 14th, it's proportionate. Now you'll see on the next slide how we break it down in Texas, where a couple other states do too. Because we're on March 3rd, Super Tuesday, we're proportionate, unless, but before I say unless and go into that, look at our numbers there, 161 delegates. We are number 2 in the nation. California has us by 8 delegates. We have 161. We're the second largest delegation in the state, in the United States. As you can see, you get 3 in each congressional district. Then there are 44 at large. There's the formula. It's like, do you have the governor? Do you have statewide offices? And so if you look at the breakdown, we have 144 from each congressional district. Now the 3 RNC members, the 3 of us, we are delegates, but we do not have alternates. So that's why it looks a little different, so we're 3 short. Let's go to the last slide, the second last slide. This is how the allocation goes, is what you're looking at. If any one of the candidates gets 50% or more, then they get all of our the whole delegation. But then if you go down and you look at the proportion, how it is there, so if you go, you look at it, and we can get that information to you. If you want the slide, I'm more than happy to share that with you. It just shows you how the breakdown is. And so again, 50%, all 3 delegates from each congressional and our at-large will go to the candidate, but then it breaks down from there. So somebody could, they could be broken down to each one, like in your congressional district. If you're less than 20%, you could be dividing it up by 3, is what you would be doing. Just so that you know. So that is the breakdown right now. And if you want this slide, or the presentation, I'd be more than happy to send it to you. And my last slide is just to tell you, I will be having a Zoom Friday, December 8th. It's the first, I'm doing it once a month right now. I feel it's important. I've taken a different direction on this call to action Zoom, and that is going to be about Israel and Hamas and what it's doing over there and what we're doing here in the United States. So I'm calling in a rabbi to ask him. He was very kind. He's very excited to be on the call, as Hunter Bonin, who is somebody that's going to be sharing the perspective here in the United States of how it is affecting in colleges and all of these protests that are going on. I believe in protests, but I believe in peaceful protests. Theirs are a little bit too off. And then Senator Hughes will go ahead and give us a wrap-up of what's been going on in the special session. If you haven't ever signed up, go to TonyAnnDeshield.com and you can click on the link. Yes, Fred? Oh, sorry, Fred. Oh, wait. Moved it up. Where did they move? For the Republican? Well, then they will not qualify. They will lose their delegates. Oh, they'll have 8 is what they'll have. So is how that will work. And no, it was not updated. So thank you for asking, or sharing. Yes?
Yes, David Wiley, SD 12.
Dave.
Could we go back to the delegate totals?
Sure. Totals,
Slide.
you mean the first delegate?
Total number of delegates, this right here. You have the Texas delegation is a total of 161. And I think that might be a typo because you have 144, 3 from each district. You have 44 at large and 3 RNC. That would total 191.
Oh, 114. Okay. You're probably right. I typed it out.
Is it 161 or?
It is 161. I can tell you that is correct because California has 169, if I'm not mistaken. Okay. But I will pull it up and let me go look at it to confirm it, and then I will let you. 114, yeah. Right. But 114. It's 114, not 144.
Because 3 from 38 would be the 114.
Well, what's 3 times? What's 3 times?
Districts would be 114.
14. Thank you for catching that. Okay. Yes. Okay. That's it. Thank you, everybody.
Call upon Robin Armstrong to present the RNC National Committee Man Report.
Getting compliments on my tie and my jacket as I walk up here. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. My wife hates this jacket. It's kind of funny. I was telling somebody earlier. She talks about it's, oh, never mind, I won't tell you when. So yeah, a lot going on at the national level. In regard, I'm gonna jump right into faith engagement. So I'm chairing Faith Engagement Committee at the RNC. I think that's something that we really need to work on. I'm gonna share a few statistics here. From Pew Research stats, I cut some of them off in deference to the chair to make my report a little shorter. If we look at white evangelical Protestants who attend a church service, monthly or more, once a month or more, if we looked at those folks in 2020, 85% of those voted for President Trump. Like 85%. It's a huge number. White Catholics who attend church monthly or more voted 63% for Donald Trump. And so it is a fact that our most reliable Republican voters and most loyal constituencies are white evangelical Protestants and Catholics, pro-life Catholics. And so in Harris County, I was talking with the only Republican commissioner there, and he was saying that approximately 100,000 evangelicals in in Harris County did not vote in the last election cycle. And so we talk about that county judge's race, and if we registered half of those and got half of those to come, if we got 25,000 to get out and vote, we'd win everything in Harris County. We'd have Harris County Commissioner's Court right now. And so we've got to turn those voters out. We'd win everything in liberal counties if we turn those voters out. And so we've got to work on that. We're working on that nationally. A share of faith engagement. We've got 3 subcommittees that we have working. One subcommittee is the engagement subcommittee. They're working in Arizona, Georgia, Wisconsin. Those are the 3 states that RNC, I think RNC adds Pennsylvania to that list, but the RNC, Turning Point USA have identified those 3 states, Arizona, Georgia, and Wisconsin, as the 3 states that we have to win the presidency. And at the end of the day, that's going to be what this discussion is going to be about, is winning the presidency, because that all filters down. We have a prayer subcommittee, and I want some of you guys to get involved with those. And I know that Deborah Fight's involved quite a bit with those. She sends that out. But we've had Senator Ted Cruz lead one of our prayer sessions, Josh Hawley from Missouri, Chuck Grassley from Iowa, Attorney General from Mississippi Lynn Finch has led one of our prayer calls. They're on the second Tuesday of every month, and so we have prayer calls. We've had a lot of success with those. Lynn Finch actually is the Attorney General that argued the case that overturned Roe v. Wade in Mississippi. And so we want you all to be involved with those. faithengagement24.com, faithengagement24.com. Please write that down, sign up for it. We'll start sending that information out to you when we have those prayer calls. We have another subcommittee called the Resource Subcommittee that actually is reaching out and engaging, the Resource Subcommittee that are producing documents and things to try and engage other voters, like Jewish groups now. Low-hanging fruit now. We could give, I know there's some Jewish members on the RNC who are talking about, we think we could have a wave of Jewish voters, young Jewish voters, coming over to the Republican Party because of how they're being oppressed on college campuses today. Huge opportunity to reach out to those guys. And so, we're going to take advantage of that. January the 30th, you all are all invited to this. Our RNC meeting is actually going to be in Las Vegas, Nevada. And so, because in conjunction with the, who said that? So we're having it there because that's the primary for Nevada will be coming up soon after that. And so January 30th, we're having a Faith Engagement Summit, actually. And it's the first time the RNC has ever done this. And so I'm organizing it. Our team is organizing that. And so we're real excited. We've got David Barton coming out to speak, Ralph Reed, Pastor Jack Hibbs out of California. So we're going to bring a lot of faith people in to the RNC. And I think it's going to be significant. Hopefully we can have a lot of impact in getting that body to be more representative of conservatives and faith voters. And so that's our goal. And so would love to do some events like this in Texas as well. Other topics I'd like to come and talk to you about if I'm invited out. I'm running for re-election for RNC, so I'd love to have your endorsement and vote for that. So thank you very much. Redistricting lawsuit, thank you, Rachel, for mentioning that. Redistricting lawsuit in Galveston County, that's a big deal, has a potential for being a big national issue. You will hear that on the national news, I promise you, when the Fifth Circuit overturns that in May. You will hear about that. And our Republican National Convention in 2028 is going to be in Houston, Texas. And so we can talk about that as well. So that's going to be a big deal for us. We've got a tough campaign season coming up in 2024. I believe Ted Cruz, Senator Cruz, is going to have a tough campaign for re-election next year, just as he did in 2028. They're going to spend $100 million. Senator Cruz is a national figure. They're going to spend $100 million in Texas to defeat him. And you think about the last election, about 8.3 million voters. There's about 219,000 that separated him and Beto O'Rourke at that time. Or Robert Francis O'Rourke. And so 2.6 percentage points separated those two. Trump consistently undervotes in the state of Texas. It's just the reality. Just go look at the numbers. And so my concern is that race between Cruz and whoever could be even closer. So we've got to really, really come out and fight. We need all hands on deck, preparing Republican voters for a very vicious political fight. And you guys know how they go after Senator Cruz, and they're going to do it again this election cycle. No one in this room, I think these are some talking points from my perspective. No one in this room wants a child to be aborted at 8 to 9 months, children chemically or physically castrated as a minor at the hands of narcissistic physicians, confused parents, or corrupt medical institutions. Democrats are okay with our kids being castrated like animals. No one in this room wants murderers, thieves, rapists, pedophiles released by a corrupt judicial system while political opponents are indicted, censored, or canceled. Democrats at all levels want to cancel your voice and empower and release Democrat criminals on our communities. No one in this room is content to watch the continual moral and financial decay of our large cities full of crime, drug use, prostitution, the Democrat Party, and offer Republican solutions to those problems. And we've got people and for the people shall not perish from the face of the earth. We can see another rebirth of freedom and a revival of hope in Texas and our nation if we speak with one voice. That's going to be so important. I love primary fights, love convention fights, whatever. But once those fights are over, we have to speak with one voice, or we will see Democrats come in and win races in Texas. And we cannot allow that to happen. Other states are watching. Other states envy us so much. I hear it all the time at RNC meetings. They envy the state of Texas. Other states are watching. Other nations are watching. We have to make sure that we win and that we unify and speak with one voice and not let small differences hinder us. And so thank you. I have put a Christmas picture at your desk. So thank you very much. Please pray for me and my family. As the boys grow up and go to college, they actually get a little more complicated and a little more needy. So pray for our family. Thank you and God bless.
If there's no objection, Representative Harrison's here who would like to say a couple very short.
Thank you. Howdy. My goodness. Thank you, Chairman Rinaldi. Thank you to the leadership of the Republican Party of the greatest state and the greatest nation the world has ever known. Thank you for being here. You know what? No, somebody started to clap, but don't clap for me. Okay, there is almost a limitless number of things you could be doing on a beautiful Saturday morning here in December. But instead, you're spending your time here, talking to each other, collaborating, trying to figure out how we are going to save the state of Texas. So for that, please give yourself a round of applause here and taking the time necessary. Guys, I say to save the state of Texas, and some people get very frustrated when I say that, but I will tell you there are days where that's a question. With every freedom, with every liberty on the chopping block, with a completely out of control federal government that seeks to destroy the Constitution, that seeks to regulate every aspect of our lives and destroy the future for my kids, your grandkids, it is incumbent on states not just to gripe and complain and moan, but to fight back with every tool available to us and to lead by example. And Texas should be leading the nation in the defense of medical. We should have led the nation in the defense of medical freedom a long time ago, but we finally banned most COVID vaccine mandates. That's a good thing. We should be leading the nation in the defense of education freedom. We're not even following. Guys, we had a few good things that happened this session. We finally made it illegal to perform these illegal or now illegal, but dangerous, disgusting gender modification procedures. That's a good thing. We made it a little bit harder to put taxpayer-funded pornography in taxpayer-funded schools. That's a good thing. But guys, I look at that kind of thing and I say, you know what? That's sort of like the part of the day. Everybody gets up in the morning, you shower, you get dressed, and you still got your whole workday ahead of you, right? I view those types of things as like getting dressed and getting showered in the morning. We still got the workday ahead of us, guys, because let me tell you, it is not too cliche. It is not tongue-in-cheek. Even though we say it a lot, it sort of loses its meaning to say that the next generation is on the line. The stakes have never been higher for the future. And do you know who knows that? The Democrats. And it's about time the Republicans across the state of Texas wake up. And the reason that I believe there's hope for this state and the reason I believe there's hope for this country is because I still believe there's more of us than there are of them. But we have got to stop the foolishness in the greatest state and the greatest country in the world, and in particular the foolishness that I live in the Texas House of Representatives. We have got to stop giving liberal Democrats power that the voters of the state of Texas have deprived them at the ballot box. We have got to stop letting the Democrats in the Texas House allow the communist Chinese to buy our land. We have got to stop letting liberal judicial activists and liberal Democrat officials allow us to keep that border wide open. We've got to do more to stand up and fight the Biden border crisis. We have to do it. And I want to say thank you for the couple victories we had. Thank you for allowing us to ban COVID vaccine mandates. Guys, when I filed the bill to do that over 2 years ago, people have been trying to get me to shut up about that issue since that day, and they've been trying to get you to shut up about that issue. But if it weren't for you, If it weren't for the activists across the state of Texas, we never would have banned these tyrannical COVID vaccine mandates. So thank you for doing that. And in fact, don't ever let elected officials, even elected officials that have an R by their name, pressure you into being quiet. And in fact, get louder. More's never been at stake. Guys, it's my honor to fight for freedom and liberty for you. I've got 4 young kids. They're somewhere in the back room wearing their pajamas, so I got a family commitment. And when people ask me what I fight for and why I do this, and it's the same reasons you're here, I hope and I pray, although I fear it might not happen, that the 4 kids that I've got sitting in the back corner of this room, I want them to grow up and to inherit a state where individual liberties remain, where freedom exists, and where we have not shredded our Constitution and let an out-of-control federal government allow political opposition to be silenced, political opponents to be criminalized, and where due process is removed, but where the presumption of innocence can protect my kids, your kids, and your grandkids from future would-be tyrants. All it takes for evil to prosper is for good men to do nothing. You know that, or you wouldn't be here today. So don't stop doing what you're doing. Thank you for setting legislative priorities. You're the only group in the state of Texas on our side of the aisle that sets legislative priorities. Thank you for doing that. And while we couldn't get the 9 or 10 that y'all had for us done, guys, the Texas House of Representatives I had my team count this, over 500 Democrat priorities got on the floor of the Texas House this session. And we couldn't pass the 10 Republican priorities of the Republican Party of Texas. We have to do better. I'm not going to stop doing everything I can to get your priorities, because your priorities are the priorities not just of the Republican activists across the state, but they are the priorities of every freedom-loving patriot who believes in individual liberty and freedom. And if America is going to be saved, it's got to be Texas leading the way. And if I had to sum up everything I'm trying to do in the Texas House and what I'm proud to partner in lockstep and join arms with you and with the activists across the state, because by the way, if Texas is going to be saved, it ain't going to be saved from the special interests in Austin. It's going to be saved from the grassroots activists across the country, from the bottom up, not the top down. And like you, my whole goal is to make government as irrelevant to your lives as possible so we can be as free as God meant for us to be. God bless you. God bless Texas. Thank you for letting me swing by.
Thank you. I call upon State Vice Chairman Dana Myers to present the Vice Chair's report.
Yeah, hang on 1 second. All right, so whatever Representative Harris is on, I want some. After sitting through most resolutions till last night, and anyway. For those of you who I know who are serving as SREC and now the new SREC, thank you very much for volunteering your time. I know especially right now with everything going on, with the holidays coming upon us, that we are missing family time, we are missing time with our constituents, but what you are doing is so very, very important. Let's talk about a little bit my report, and then I have a few comments at the end. So first slide, please. All right, so one thing we talked about, not last session, because I actually had pneumonia last time, which is why I wasn't here, but the time before that was this All-In Democracy Challenge. As we're talking about the Democrats' efforts in Texas to not only mold our children and our youth and bring them over to the dark side, we are also talking about our use of taxpayer dollars that are being used by the NGOs in this state to register voters. And that is being done by the All-In Democracy Challenge. I showed you this map last time, 48 locations in Texas universities across our state. If you do not have that list and you want it, feel free to email me, because we need to launch a counteroffensive. Next, please. Also, upon further investigation, trying to figure out who is supporting these organizations, because typically the 18 to 20-year-olds, even though they may be super bright, they are not organizing this effort alone. There are 22 major affiliates in Texas of a group called Indivisible. How many of you are familiar with that group? Okay, some of you, I would highly suggest you go Google it. It's easily available online, indivisible.org. It's been around a long time, and what it is essentially a Democrat group of community organizers that telegraph their plan online. So these are the groups that are supporting those 44 or 48 college universities as well as the other things that they do in our state. And their mission statement very, very clearly says to elect progressive leaders, rebuild our democracy, and defeat the Trump agenda. It's very specific in that last line, defeat the Trump agenda. Next, please. So just to show you an overlay of these two maps, this is basically building upon the efforts of, again, the various NGO dark money groups that the Dems are bringing into our state. This is happening all over the United States. But as Texans, we specifically represent the entire state through your districts and some of us statewide to make sure that we understand what's going on in our local community. So you can see, next slide, roughly in our state are found in what we call the triangle. I think you all know that. When you look at the majority of the efforts and the presence of these NGOs from the Democrat side, they are predominantly in that heavily laden voting district. Next, please. So our weekly activity of our Republican groups across Texas is also noted. You can find this on the RPT website under events, and I would highly encourage you to have your grassroots organizations make sure that they, if they feel comfortable, put that on our map so other groups can connect with each other. Next, please. All right, talking about these dark money groups from the left, you can get this list from me if you've not gotten it already. Some of the election integrity folks have this. These are the top 20 large Democrat NGOs that are pushing money into our election administrator offices and through the election system. A lot of times they will be coming in a backdoor way saying, hey, you know what, our group will give you a grant to help with payroll, or we will help you recruit poll watchers, or such and such and such and such. And that is how they essentially come into our state, even though we have banned Zuckbucks. Next, please. And of course, these are some of the names that you'll see on that top 20 list. You can read for yourself, but big names that many of you will recognize in the election integrity space. Center for Internet Security, which is CIS, which has been in the news about that. Civic Nation, All-In Democracy Challenge, go back please. Fair Election Center Campus Vote Project, Rock the Vote. Next. Democracy Works, Turbo Vote. So obviously there's a huge voter registration push by the left right now. You can read the others, we can talk about it later, but Generation Citizen, go back. Vote 16 USA down there towards the bottom. And of course, the League of Women Voters, energizing young voters. I've already put this forth to Texas Federation of Republican Women Groups and other grassroots organizations that work with younger folks. We need to launch the counteroffensive. Next, please. Of course, my last two favorites, CEER, Center for Election Innovation Research, David Becker's group, which was working with ERIC, Electronic Registration Information Center, to data harvest our personal identifiable information. And thank you very much, but we at least got rid of the last one, so ERIC is gone. All right, so as many of you know, election integrity has been my #1 priority. That's what I said I would do at convention. We're going to continue that effort in whatever form or fashion it needs to take. I will be discussing that with Alex Mueller, who's running Victory, to see what we need to do to further training our poll watchers, our poll workers, and making sure that we give our county chairs and our precinct chairs the information and the tools they need to do their job. And that is also applying to precinct chair training and county chair training going forward, because that is how we grow our base, and that is also how we help our local Texas counties help us get our agenda across. You know, so I do want to say a few remarks, because I think it's been a very tumultuous time, and I know that Dr. Armstrong has already talked a little bit about this, and I know we've had already a long day yesterday, and I suspect we may have a little bit of a long day today. But I'm going to remind everyone, and I suspect that you already know this, is the line. That is why we are all here. Texas and Texans are going to be put to the test like we've never had to challenge before. We are the 40 electoral votes that the left must win to put in a president. And I will say that we will not be giving our Texas 40 electoral votes to anyone but a Republican president. And this is where my son calls it the mom talk. He goes, "You're going to give him the mom talk?" I'm like, "Yes, I am." And I've said this not only to you all, I've said this to many grassroots organizations when I've been called in to try to negotiate peace settlements between factions of parties or factions between inter-grassroots territory disputes, et cetera, et cetera. You know, I remind everyone that many are watching how we conduct ourselves, especially our children and our grandchildren. And just as we remind our children, it's time we remind ourselves as Republicans and our fellow Texans, we must practice what we preach and preach what we practice every day. And I know that many of you know it is going to be Texas now that fights for America, just as Representative Harrison says. We have essentially been left to our own devices with a federal government that really, with open borders, doesn't want to see Texas exist. So stand with me as we continue to work this, and remember, be the light that Texans will want to follow. We have many people looking to us to lead. I know that you all have that within you, and I appreciate every single thing you do. So let's go win some elections.
Thank you. Okay. Sorry, I hate to postpone the lunch break by a couple minutes, but we got 6 minutes? Yeah, okay. We have Representative Nate Schatzline here and Representative Tony Tinderholt here. So I want to allow them to say a couple words to you.
I dressed up for you. Hey, we're having Christmas over at the Capitol with our kids. We've all got young children. Some of these guys look like children to us, right? Brian's here somewhere. I kind of wanted Brian Harrison. I just texted him and told him to come in. Oh, you already did? Okay. I wanted to come up here and personally say thank you for what you do. Whether you support what I'm personally doing at the Capitol or not, today, right here, right now, doesn't matter. What I want to say is thank you for what you do for the party, and thank you for all of the things you've done for the party. What the party does for Texas and for my family and for me is invaluable, and you are a huge part of that. And I want to be very clear before I get out of here and let you hear from the more important people here. The younger, good-looking guys that have way better speaking abilities, is that I value what you guys do. I value our party. I value what we stand for, and I value the priorities of the party. And so that's what I do every day in Austin. Every day in Austin, I try to partner with people that want to bring those values to the forefront. When I put an R in front of my name, I pledged that I would do those things, and I just want you to know I will continue to do them because that's what people in this room expect. So thank you so much for what y'all do. I appreciate you.
I want to second everything that Representative Tinderholt just said, and I also just want to take a moment before we even go forward, and somebody's probably already done this, but I think it's incredibly important. I am incredibly grateful for the leadership of Chairman Rinaldi. Is everyone in this room grateful for a chairman that puts conservative principles first? And the reality is this, is that I believe Texas deserves representatives that tell the truth and fight for the truth. And that's what we're dedicated to doing. And so when this group and when we go to convention and our platform is created, I believe that we have a responsibility as representatives to go forward and fight wholeheartedly and honestly for the values and for the platform that you have done all the hard work of putting together. And just like Representative Tinderholt said, and I'm sure Representative Harrison said, my family and I have benefited greatly by the leadership of the party, by you guys actually doing the tough work and getting our back, even down to social media posts and getting behind us on the fights that we have on the House floor. The reality is we are in a battle to save Texas, and we are dedicated to doing so, whether it's securing our border, whether it's actually getting on a path to eliminating property tax, not just lowering property tax, or whether it's fighting against the sexualization of children. We are in the fight of our life. And we're having some wins, and I'll be honest with you, We've had some major setbacks this session, and we need strong conservative leaders to stand up and actually do something about it. And so the fact that you're here is everything to us. You are standing in the gap. You are fighting. And I want you to know you're heard, you're seen. And we value you more than you could ever imagine. And so we love you. My name's Nate Schatz. I didn't even introduce myself. The majority of Texans want us to fight and not just roll over and accept the status quo. And so our dedication is to fight and do just that, not roll over and accept the status quo. We love you. Thank you for all you do.
Thank you so much. By the way, thank God for these guys, because the amount of pressure they go through, I've felt in the Texas House, and it's even worse and stronger now. So they are truly warriors with courage. Before we break for lunch really quick, if there's no objection, Dana wanted to put up one more slide just for contact info.
Yeah, really not to make this any longer, waiting for Virgil. Very last slide. Because I got a question yesterday from someone, which actually that was very interesting to me, because I don't think about it because I'm usually on the road. Because people say, well, what does the vice chairman do? Well, the vice chair basically does what Chairman Rinaldi asked, and also there are other things that I specifically, obviously, am very engaged in election integrity and making sure that we have training and that we grow all those things, and making sure that we have a presence across the state of Texas. Did you find it? Okay, so the other thing was, well, where do you go? Here's where I've been. So if you consider looking at this in your district, I have not been to your district, I am happy to come. Please have your grassroots organizations or your county chair or you, whomever, reach out to me, and we'll make it happen. There's going to be a lot of training coming up in the next, starting in January, and happy to come. But if I haven't covered that area, and please don't park me out in the middle of Big Bend, because, yeah, I've been there too, but I didn't count that one. That was more for wildlife than anything else. But if you need me, and you haven't seen your area covered in red, then please call me. Thank you.
Thank you. I want to thank Lieutenant Governor Dan Patrick for sponsoring our lunch today. Thank you, Lieutenant Governor Patrick, for that and all your support. We're going to now break for lunch. You can take your lunch back in here to eat it, but in any event, please be back in your seats by 12:30. Real quick, we don't, unfortunately, have enough for non-SREC members, so if you could please let the SREC members get the lunch, and then if there's anything left over, of course, we'd be welcome to have anyone else. Thank you. We'll now be at ease until 12:30.